What if the most famous demotion in science was actually our greatest mistake? What if we weren't just kicking a rock out of the club, but turning our backs on a member of our cosmic family, one that was watching us back from the dark? We spent decades listening to the stars for a sign of life, but what if we've been listening to the wrong place? What if the answer wasn't out in the vast, empty blackness, but right here, in our own solar system, hiding in the last place anyone would ever think to look? Imagine a world with an ocean larger than all of Earth's combined, where the sky is a ceiling of ice, and the sun is nothing but a faint, warm heartbeat in the deep. Now imagine that world has been here, orbiting our sun all along. What if we just couldn't see it until now? What does a civilization look like that has never seen a star, that has never known day or night, or harnessed fire? If their entire reality is built on sound and pressure and a perpetual frozen darkness, could we even begin to understand their art, their music, or their concept of the universe? We think of technology as metal, circuits, and engines. But what if another species evolved to grow its technology, to use bioluminescence as light, and genetically engineered life forms as their tools? What would a city that is a living, breathing organism actually look like? If you lived your entire life in absolute darkness, how would you perceive reality? Would your consciousness itself be different? What kind of intelligence evolves when your primary sense isn't sight, but something else entirely?
What if, in 2006, the IAU had looked through their telescopes not just at a frozen rock at the edge of everything, but at a world? What if the debate over Pluto's planethood wasn't a scientific footnote, but the prelude to the most profound discovery in human history? This isn't the story of a demoted dwarf planet. This is the story of Persephone, a name we'd have given her when we learned the truth. For Pluto does not orbit the sun in solitude. It is not a barren tomb of ice and rock. It is a shell, a protective, icy carapace, shielding a secret that redefines the very meaning of the word life. Our story begins not with a visual discovery, but an acoustic one. The New Horizons probe, on its historic flyby, didn't just take pictures. Its instruments listened. And what they heard, buried deep beneath a global ocean of liquid water, shielded from the vacuum of space by a crust of ice 50 miles thick, was a symphony. The hydroacoustic layer analysis, or HALO data, revealed the world teeming with sonar communication, complex, patterned, and undeniably intelligent. The clicks and pulses we mistook for geological activity were in fact a language, a culture, a civilization of beings who have never seen the stars, for whom the concept of sky is the crystalline ceiling of their abyssal ocean, and for whom the sun is nothing but a faint warm pulse in the deep geothermal heart of their world, a heart we now know beats in rhythm with their own. We are not listening for little green men. We are listening for leviathans. The inhabitants of Persephone, whom we've codenamed cryocephalopods, are likely colossal, ammonia-based cephalopod-like organisms, their biology tuned not to sunlight and oxygen, but to the eternal darkness, immense pressure, and cold of the subglacial ocean. They would communicate not with sound as we know it, but with structured columns of manipulated water density, creating resonant frequencies that travel for thousands of miles in their perfectly acoustic world. Their cities would not be built, they would be grown. Vast bioluminescent coral-like structures fed by the constant snowfall of organic particles from the underside of the ice crust, which acts as their land. Their entire history, their mathematics, their art, their philosophy, everything they are, has evolved in a perpetual silent night, illuminated only by their inner light. Imagine a culture that has never known fire, never harnessed combustion, because in their world it is impossible. Instead, their technology would be biological, genetic. They wouldn't build submarines, they would grow them. They wouldn't use tools, they would symbiotically merge with specialized life forms designed for specific tasks. Their understanding of the universe is not based on electromagnetism and light, but on fluid dynamics and sonar resonance. They are the ultimate introverts of the cosmos, living out their entire existence in a world of thought and sound, utterly unaware that above their icy sky, an entire universe of stars and planets is waiting. And this is where our story takes its most terrifying and thrilling turn. For 40 years, we have been broadcasting our presence into the galaxy. Radio and television signals have been leaking into space, an expanding bubble of human noise now over 100 light years across. But what if someone or something was already listening from much, much closer? The ice shell of Pluto is not a perfect barrier. Certain low-frequency gravitational waves and neutrino oscillations from the Sun and major cosmic events could, in theory, penetrate the ice and be detectable in the ocean below. The cryocephalopods would perceive a supernova not as a flash of light, but as a sudden, violent chord in the music of their world. They would feel the gravity of Charon not as a pull, but as a constant rhythmic tide in their global sea, the foundation of their calendar and their concept of time. And now they would be detecting a new, entirely unnatural signal. Us. Our earliest radio broadcasts from the 1930s and 40s would just now be reaching them, vibrating through their ice shell as a faint, ghostly whisper of patterns and structure that defies all natural explanation. They would know with absolute certainty that they are not alone, but they are trapped. Their biology is tied to the immense pressure of their ocean. They could no more breach their icy sky than we could swim up into the clouds. They are a civilization in a bottle, aware of the outside world for the first time, with no way to reach it. They are the ultimate prisoners, and we are the mysterious voices from outside the walls of their cell. So the question is no longer if Pluto is a planet. It's a moot point. The question is, what do we do now that we know it is a home? The discovery of life on Persephone would instantly become the central defining event of human civilization. Every resource, every ambition would be bent toward one goal: communication. We would have to learn to speak in tides and pressures. We would need to build not a radio telescope, but a plutophonic transmitter, a device capable of sending complex information by vibrating the entire ice shell itself, like tapping on the glass of their aquarium. Our first message wouldn't be a mathematical prime number. It would be a perfect resonant frequency, the harmonic of their own world's pulse, a greeting that says, "We hear you." The journey to reach them physically would be the greatest engineering challenge ever conceived. A mission to land on the surface, melt through 50 miles of the hardest ice in the solar system, and deploy a probe into a pitch-black, high-pressure, alien ocean, all without contaminating it or appearing as a hostile invader. We would have to be archaeologists, linguists, biologists, and diplomats all at once, communicating with a species whose very frame of reference for reality is alien to our own. Pluto would no longer be a dot on a chart. It would be our neighbor. It would be a mirror held up to humanity, showing us that life is not a rarity, but a rule, and that intelligence can blossom in the most profound darkness. It would be a constant, humbling reminder that we are not the pinnacle of creation, but merely one voice in one frequency in a cosmic conversation that has already begun, right in our own celestial backyard.